Alright, so I'm going to show how to replace the battery on this late 2016, mid 2017 MacBook Pro model A1708. Just to let you know, this model has a known issue with the batteries, and Apple will actually replace it for free. If you go online and Google the Apple, like your model, and then just search battery issue, you'll find like an Apple repair program for that. Some people want to get it repaired sooner rather than later, so that's why they want to bring it to me, because I can get the battery and they can use the computer while they wait. So anyways, we're going to need a Pentalobe 1.2 or a P5 screwdriver, and we're going to remove all the screws from the bottom. You want to keep them in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. The two back screws on the corners next to the hinges are the longest ones, and then these ones are a little bit shorter, I believe, and then these ones in the middle are the shortest, if I remember correctly. So again, try and keep them in order if you can, because if you mix them up, you can cause damage to your computer. Alright. Okay, so once you remove those 6 screws, you'll want to use either some tape or suction cup. Let me see if I can... What did I do with that suction cup that I had here? I threw it somewhere. Huh. Oh, I got another one here, so we're going to use this one. Alright, so I'll show you this method. There's 2 methods. Well, you can use a suction cup, of course, or you can get some pieces of tape and just stick it on like this. Okay, these are like old pieces of tape, so I don't know if it will work. But you stick it on like that, and then you make like a pull tab in the middle, and you can use that to pull it up. And then once you pull it up, you can actually get your fingers underneath. Again, these pieces of tape were kind of old, so it didn't work that well, but I'm pretty sure you could see how it was working. Alright, so anyways, I'll turn the Mac this way so it's easier for me to get my fingernails underneath. Use the suction cup, pull it up, and then I'll get my fingernails underneath. You can use pry tools if you want, but just get underneath. And then what you want to do is go over to the side here. And then once I get to the side, you can see I can use my thumb to pull that, and you heard it pop up just like that. Then we'll go to the other side, do the same thing, go around over to this side, and then same thing, just pull that clip up. Alright, once you get those clips up, make sure that the middle clips are released as well. Just pull it up like that. Alright, and then we're gonna put the MacBook up on its side like this, and what you're gonna be doing is grabbing on this panel that's opened, and you can't just pull it out. So what we're gonna be doing, it has a mechanism that slides underneath, so we have to actually pull the cover straight down and have this kind of foam padding thing to kind of help protect it. But I use my fingers in this little gap here to push down on the cover, as well as this finger to keep the Mac from falling over, and then I use this hand to pull this cover down. Be careful because you can scrape your hand on the edge of this, so I kind of have it to where just my fingernails are kind of rubbing along that, and then just pull on it just like this. Sometimes it's harder than others, but this one wasn't too difficult. Usually this side will also come out, but if it doesn't, same thing, just go on that side, push it down, and then do that to remove the battery, or to remove the bottom cover. So it's pretty dusty in here. I'm going to clean that up a bit, and then I'll be back. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. So I cleaned out the dust from the inside. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove or disconnect the battery. So what you want to do is we're going to peel this up. Let me zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. So this plastic stuff, we're just going to peel this up. You want to pull on it slowly, and usually the adhesive will just release itself. But if it doesn't, just be careful peeling it up. Okay, so there we go. We're going to set that aside. And then we're going to have to disconnect this little cable. This is part of the battery connection to the main board, so you want to be careful with this. If you damage this cable, then your battery's not going to work. And if you don't reconnect it properly, it's not going to work either. Alright, so we're going to peel this up a little bit. And then here you can see this connector. We're going to flip this latch up. I just use my fingernail. You can use a pry tool or whatever, but you don't use like metal for this. Alright, so flip up that little latch. Hopefully you can actually see that it's flipped up. Alright, once you do that, just grab underneath. You can use tweezers or something, and then pull that connector out just like that. We are going to have to transfer this connector over to the new battery, so we're going to slightly bend this over. You don't want to bend it too much, but just flip it over like that. Alright, we're going to switch over to a T5 screwdriver to remove this big screw here, and that will disconnect the battery. What you want to do hopefully you made sure your MacBook was off, but yeah, we'll remove that big screw. All right, and then you pull up this metal tab. All right, you don't want to pull it too far, just so enough so it stays up. So here you can see it's staying up now. All right, and then what we're gonna do is remove these two screws here. Okay, so it looks like someone already worked on this before, because this screw, the water sticker was pushed into the hole. All right, so we're going to remove this other screw as well, and this just holds the battery power connector down. So here you can see now it's moving around. All right, after you remove those screws, you want to press and hold the power button. So open up the MacBook, and then I'm just pressing and holding the power button. Do that for about 10 to 15 seconds to drain any power, just to make the MacBook safer to work on. All right, so I'm gonna wait for that. I'm probably gonna have to get my MacBook charger to power this thing back on. But anyways, once you do that, the MacBook is completely off. We're gonna take this connector off. This is the trackpad connector. Okay, so take these two screws out. Again, try and keep your screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. You don't want to get them all mixed up. All right, so remove those two screws here. Once you remove those two screws, you can remove this metal plate here. Okay, just like that. Set that aside, and then we're gonna pop this connector up. This is the trackpad connector. Just get your fingernails underneath and kind of wiggle it and pop it up. I like to go on both corners, the top and the lower one, and then just lift it up like that. Then grab this cable. Let me zoom back out a bit. All right, so we're gonna peel this cable up. So you wanna pull it that way while you lift it up to keep the cable as straight as possible. You don't wanna kind of just crease it up, okay? All right, so we got that out. It's all dusty under there. And then we're gonna have to disconnect or undo the trackpad screws. So here you can see these screws, they have kind of a light or whitish ring around it. So we're gonna remove all those screws. These are the trackpad screws, okay? There's 4 on each side, and then there's 2 on the front end here. So we're just gonna remove all of those. Okay. You want to be careful with this. You don't want to flip the trackpad over because there are little washers on it, and if you flip it over, you're very likely going to lose them all because they just fall off really easily. All right. So we're just going to remove all 10 of these screws. Alright, so now we got all 10 screws out. Lift this cable up and then open up the MacBook while you're holding that cable up. Alright, let that cable fall through. Okay, try and help guide it through. There we go. And then grab the thing from there. Again, you don't want to flip this thing over, and you don't want to like blow on it or anything because these things will like fall off really easily. There's like these rectangular shaped washers and then these circular shaped ones. So if you want to clean it, just use like a brush, lightly brush it, and keep an eye on those washers. Make sure that you don't accidentally knock them off. Okay. All right, so there we go. We got the trackpad out. Now we're gonna have to remove the battery. So this battery pack isn't too difficult to remove like the other ones. There's just a strong adhesive underneath, and we're gonna have to cut through it and then peel that up. So what you want to do, just turn the thing sideways like this, get a thin pry tool, something like that, and then we're going to have to go underneath from the bottom here, and then we're going to basically scrape this up. It's going to be a little tricky just because there are like weird like gaps here where the metal kind of like makes a bowl and then it just gets caught there. So it's easiest to go from the middle part here, and then you kind of work your way to the side like this, and you just keep going over to the side if you can. All right, just like this. All right, if it gets stuck, you can pull it back, move it, try and move it slightly over to the side without going past that divot, and then push the tool back in. Okay, just like that. Okay, all right. Okay, you want to just slice all of that adhesive off. All right, and there we go. So we got this one out. Here you can see that's the adhesive. All right, you want to be careful because if you do cut into these packs, it can cause a fire risk. So if your battery is old, you can just completely drain the battery first if it still turns on, and that will help prevent risk of fire or anything. Okay, so now we're going to go on this side. This one, I'm going to have to start from the center here. All right, whichever way you can do to get the tool in easier, just do it that way. All right, and then we're just going to keep going over and cutting through this adhesive. All right. All right, normally I wouldn't do it this way because I'm left-handed, but since I'm trying to show it on camera, I kind of have to do it this way. Otherwise, I would have it off camera using my left hand, but all right, so just like this. And then just work the tool over to the side to cut up all that adhesive. All right, just like that. There we go. Now we got all the adhesive on those two. Okay, just like that. And then the center one's a little more difficult. What you can do, you want to open this and then you can actually see inside. I'm going to clean all this dust off. But yeah, here you can see, and then you'll want to go from the front here first and try and get it between the two layers there. Okay, so here you can see, and if you're going to do it this way, you want to make sure to hold on to these battery packs to keep them from falling. I'm going to clean out the dust real quick and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So normally I would keep the Mac this way, but to try and show it on video, I kind of have to open it this way. Let me see if I can make it kind of visible this way. All right, so again, we're gonna stick it through the trackpad slot here, and then you want it to go up into the battery well. Let me see if I can show this. So just like that, you'll see the tool is going in that way, okay? And that's how you make it easier to kind of pry in, and then you go through. Here you can see I slid the tool and it's going all the way under like that, okay? And we're gonna basically just slide it across this way, okay? So just like this. Hopefully you can see I'm working it over that way. I'm gonna try and hold it this way to hold the stuff, but let's see if it's gonna be possible or not. Ooh. So now I kind of punctured the plastic a tiny bit, but you get the idea. Just keep going over sideways, okay? Just like that. So I'm gonna do it this way because I don't want to risk blowing the thing up trying to show what I'm doing. But basically just keep working the tool over to the side. All right. Just like this. There we go. Okay, we cut most of it. Now I'm gonna have to go further down to make sure I cut through to the other end. There we go. And then just continue going over that way. And there we go. So we should have cut through all the adhesive now. So we can lift the battery up like this. You want to be careful not to touch it over there if you can help it. So you want to lift it and slide it over to the left. There we go. And there's the battery. So I did puncture a tiny bit right there, but it should be good. All right, so now we're gonna remove we have to remove this one cable here. So we're gonna remove this. Same thing, there's the little latch, just flip it up. Once you flip that latch up, you can pull this cable out just like this, okay? And just remember, we're gonna have to put that back in. All right, so get the replacement battery. And we're not able to get official Apple batteries because Apple doesn't make it available to people unless you sign up for their Apple whatever thing, I don't know, and then they basically make you pay them for doing the work. I don't know, they don't make parts available for people to just buy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, let's get this battery. Okay, so usually the way they have the replacement battery, they put this plastic on top, which helps keep it aligned so that when you drop it in, it stays in the right spot. And then this just helps keep the adhesive from sticking to other stuff. So we're gonna clean up this old adhesive first. So the way you do that, you can take the tool and kind of scrape it up. Let's see if I can show this. It's gonna be a little tricky, but you basically scrape up some of the adhesive. Then when you get underneath, you can grab it, okay, like that, and then you just peel it up, just like that. So it helps to, if you start from this side, if it's all in one piece, then you can actually peel the whole thing out. It's a lot nicer. So like this, just grab it and just slowly peel it up. There we go. If there's some residue, you can try and just get it out. It doesn't need to be 100% cleaned off, but just clean up as much as you can, so that way the new adhesive will have the metal frame to stick to and not the old adhesive. All right, just like that. There we go. All right, just peel it up just like that, and we just continue this process for all these strips of adhesive. Okay, and you want to peel it kind of slow. If you peel too fast, it'll tear a lot easier, and then it makes it a lot harder to peel this up. Okay, just like that. Slowly peel it. Oops, sorry, I'm going off camera. I mean, you get the idea. Some of the models, they kind of make it a lot more difficult because they put parts of the cable underneath the motherboard or the logic board. This one is actually one of the nicer ones to replace. So, all right. Even though it is kind of dumb the way they put this adhesive. Kind of hate how Apple did this. All right, peel that up. Just like that. Rotate this over so you guys can see. All right, before I had people complaining that I didn't do a video showing how to cut all this adhesive, so I'm doing that now. So hopefully this video will actually help some people. All right, scrape it up from this side because it's easier since there's a metal gap there. All right, and then just peel that up. Just like this. All right, scrape this side as well. All right, and then scrape this one up as well. All right, so now we got all 9 adhesive strips peeled. Oops, almost got all 9 adhesive strips peeled up. Okay, there we go. Got all 9 adhesive strips peeled up. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna have to get this. It's very important that you get this aligned properly, because if you don't, and these 2 metal things don't attach right, as well as that little wire that curves, folds over, if those don't line up right, then this isn't gonna work properly. So you're gonna wanna make sure it lines up, okay? Then we peel this off. Here you can see it has all the new adhesive. All right, so what you're gonna wanna do, make sure this thing stays over to the right. You wanna be very careful and then slot that piece in underneath first. Okay, make sure the screw holes line up right, and then slowly lower it down. Again, this is kind of tricky because you want to make sure that the things line up right. Oh, I dropped it. Now it's gonna, I guess that's where it's gonna be stuck. Okay, let me lift it back up. Okay, so you want to slowly get it lined up. I can't really see what I'm doing because I'm trying to record, but just like this. Okay, and then you can drop these things down. All right. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is put back the screws here, just to make sure everything stays lined up. All right, so we'll get this one screw here, and we'll put this in loosely first. Then we'll get the other screw, and we'll put that in as well. Again, it's kind of hard to tell which way is lined up, but I try and get the gold pieces around the screws to be kind of parallel and in the center of the screws. So if it doesn't work, then you can undo the screws and then you can kind of try and move it around and line it up again. But that's that piece. Okay, now you can push these battery packs down, and then after that you peel off this clear layer. Okay, so all right, so now we peel off this just like that. That piece is coming up, make sure it stays down. Okay, just like that. If you want, you can save this stuff or just throw it away. Okay, so we got all of that. Check this, make sure it looks lined up enough. Looks like it's a little bit too high, so I'm going to loosen the screws and I'm going to kind of push it down. Let me see, I'm going to have to put my head over to see. So sorry, I'm not going to be able to have a good view of what I'm doing since I'm trying to see what I'm doing myself. All right, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect because you'll test it afterwards to make sure. All right, so we got all of that lined up. Now we're going to put the trackpad back in place. All right, so open the screen up slightly. Thread the trackpad cable through. All right, get the trackpad in there lined up. Okay, and then we're gonna put back the trackpad screws. So usually what I do is I'll put one in this corner, okay, but not tightened all the way, so it's like slightly loose. That way you can move it around. Okay, and then we're going to plug this connector back in. This is the trackpad connector. All right, and the way that you line up the trackpad, okay, let me put the trackpad connector screws in first. So this one's nice because they all use T5 screws. All right. Just like that. Okay, so now we got the trackpad connector completely in place. All right, so what you're gonna do now, after you put these screws, of course, again, make sure that they're not tightened all the way. We're gonna open up the screen. And then this part is, we're gonna align the trackpad. You wanna make sure that the gap all the way around is even, okay? If the screws are too tight, you can loosen it a little bit just to make sure that you can move the trackpad around, okay? All right, so move the trackpad around, get it lined up. You can use a piece of tape. I just got some old tape that I kind of just use. All right, so make sure it's all lined up, and then you can put the tape on there, and that will keep the trackpad from moving around, okay? And you want to do this on both sides. Okay, again, make sure it's all lined up completely. There we go. All right, so now check the trackpad, make sure it looks good, completely lined up. Close the screen, flip it back over, and now you can tighten down these screws completely and put back the rest of the screws, okay? All right, so we'll put back the rest of the trackpad screws here. It doesn't matter if you do the crisscross thing, but it's kind of a good habit when you work on stuff like this to do this crisscross way of putting in the screws. Okay, I'm gonna put these screws down here. All right, there we go. And now we're gonna put back this battery screw now that we got everything reconnected. Make sure everything's good. And then you can put this screw in. As you can see, the gold pads are slightly shifted over to the right. So what you can do, you can loosen this up, and then you can move this board slightly over to the left to make sure that everything lines up properly, okay? All right, you can kind of look at it and see if it looks centered enough. If you can see, you can actually see both metal gold pins through the center there, then that's probably better. So I'm gonna have to move it slightly up though. Like that, okay. And move it over slightly to the right. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna tighten this down. All right, now that we got those screws tightened down, we're gonna put back the battery screw here. And you kind of look over the top, make sure both gold pieces are visible. It is slightly over a little bit, but it should be connected. We'll just test the battery and make sure, okay? So tighten that down, there we go. And then we gotta reconnect this cable. So let me see if I can zoom in and make that more visible. I probably should have zoomed in so you can see this part. So let me take this screw out and you can kind of see it. So here you can see both gold pieces are more or less lined up. If you want, you can loosen it, and then let me see if I can slide it over and show you. There you go. So you kind of want both gold pieces kind of lined up in the center like that. So that way, when you tighten the other screw down, it makes sure that it goes in contact with both pads underneath there. Okay. And we're going to tighten this screw down for the battery. Okay. And then we're going to put this connector in. All right, so this connector, you kind of want to fold it open. All right. All right, make sure that the latch is up for this piece. Okay, just flip it up very lightly. All right, and then this, you're probably going to have to like bend it over to make it stay more flat. That way you can connect this cable. Right, just like that. Wiggle it, make sure it goes in as much as possible. There will be a tiny bit of the gold showing, but that's okay. And then use your finger and just flip it down. You don't need to use your nail or a pry tool. Just rub over the top like that to flip it down. If you use a tool, there's a good chance you're going to end up breaking off that clip, so be very careful. These clips are really hard to put back. Unless you have really steady hands and like good pliers or tweezers, I mean. Okay, so we got that. Now we're going to put this piece back in. You just hold this little wing or the plastic piece over and then slide this in place. All right. You kind of have to use that little plastic thing to help adjust it. But I don't know if my hand's going to be in the way for you to see if I do it this way, but hopefully you can see. All right, there we go. Get that connected all the way. And then if you want, you can use this to tug it over and make sure it's completely pulled in. Same thing, use your finger, just rub it over the top, like flop it over like that, and it will push that connector down. All right, then we're going to put this piece back on top. As you can see, there's this little circle. You line that up with that screw there, and then you flip this over. And usually I'll slide this all the way down so it's flush with this piece here, okay? And then just push it in place. All right, there we go. Now if you want, you can try turning it on. Just make sure the surface you're working on is not conductive or anything. This is like some anti-static packaging material. So that's why I'm using that. And then you can open it. If you want, you can just leave it straight up like this, so that way you don't have to put it down on the surface. I'm gonna peel off this tape. Okay, here you can see the trackpad is nice and centered. Some gross stuff on this, crumbs and everything. Oh, so here you can see it's actually showing a low battery. So I am going to have to plug it in, but it is detecting the battery. So let me go get the plug and I'll be back. We also have to do an SMC and PRAM reset, so I'll show that once I get the plug to plug it back in. All right, I'll be back in a bit. All right, so I'm back with the charger. We're gonna plug it in. All right. And usually the way you know your MacBook is turning on is if you press on here, you'll feel the trackpad vibrating because there's no physical clicking. The vibration means that it's actually, what do you call? That means your MacBook actually has power and the trackpad is being powered. All right, so first thing we're going to do is SMC reset. On some models it won't work, but what you do is Control Option Shift on the left side, and then you press the power button. If you do it, if it's done right, the Mac should actually turn off. So there you go, it did turn off immediately, and that means it's been done properly. If you want to be safe with it, with SMC reset, right now it's turning itself back on, but what you can do is you can restart the computer and hold the Option key so that it boots up into the boot menu and not the regular option. So I'll show you that. If you hold the Option key while it's booting up, then it should go into like recovery options menu. Okay, so like that. And then it's more safe to do the SMC reset because it's not like shutting off midway while your computer's on. So Control Option Shift on the left and then power button. So here you see it turned it off. And then to do a PRAM reset, you turn on the Mac and then Command Option P and R while it's booting up. All right. And then usually what will happen is you'll see the screen come on and then you'll see the screen shut back off, and then that's how you know you did the PRAM reset properly. If you don't see the screen flashing on and off, then you can kind of just hold it for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then let go. And the Mac should hopefully turn itself back on, and then it should be fine. I'm going to do it one more time just to be safe. I'm going to restart the computer and then hold Command Option P and R just to make sure it does a complete PRAM reset. And then that should be good. Okay, so we're going to restart again, and then Command Option P and R. And yeah, if you don't see the screen come on, usually you'll see the screen like light up. I just saw it light up and then it shut itself back off. And that's how you know you did the PRAM reset properly. And then it should turn itself back on after it completely does the PRAM reset. And somebody was asking what the PRAM and SMC reset is. That kind of stuff you can Google and it will kind of explain it. But it resets like system settings and things like that, kind of like the BIOS. Resets the fan speed settings, the volume, the brightness, and everything like that. So that's pretty much it. If I unplug this now, it should stay on and we should be good to go. So if anything, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Again, this model, at least right now, Apple has a repair program in place for these 2017 models. This is a 2017. I think the 2016 doesn't have the replaceable SSD like that. So yeah, anyways, we're gonna put the cover back on. So it's basically the reverse, and you can hear that it did the charging sound. It's kind of quiet, but oh, now it didn't do it. Let's check it again. So it made the charging sound there. Wonder why this port of theirs isn't making the charging sound. Okay, there we go. All right, so it should be good. All right, so now we're gonna put the cover back on. Again, like removing it, you want it at this angle, okay? So to put it back, you have to also put it at this angle. All right, so you put it in at that angle. And then while you're kind of holding this front part down and holding this side up, you slide it back over. Same thing with the other one. Hold it at that angle and then slide it over. All right, and then you kind of have to work it in side to side until both sides are flush. All right, so then you look at the top, make sure it's flush here. If it's not lined up here, then you're gonna have to take it back out. It didn't line up right, so I'm gonna slide this back off. Okay, and just like this, we're gonna take it back out because it didn't line up right. So try and line up the side here a little bit better. And then same thing, slide that over, slide that over, slide that over, slide that over. All right, check the sides again. I don't know why it keeps walking over to this other side, so it's kind of weird. I'm gonna do it again because you want to make sure that it's lined up completely. Okay, it's kind of weird that it's doing that. Let me try and maybe push this side over slightly. There we go. Okay, that worked. All right, so make sure it's all lined up. Again, check the gap here, make sure it's not like overlapping or anything. Once you do that, just push it down on the sides, push it down in the center, and then there we go. And now we just put back all the T5, or not the T5, the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screws, and we're good to go. All right, again, the longest ones go towards the back here. Okay, just like this. Slightly shorter ones to the other corners down here. And then the shortest ones in the center. Alright, again, hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe, help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Alright, bye.